a final from Memphis, where Memphis hangs on 77-75, a game that would not end, but a game that was dramatic and intense. How about David Jones, the St. John's transfer, leads the American Athletic Conference in scoring at nearly 21 per game, scores 28 in this. Javon Quinterly, the Alabama transfer, 13 points, 4 assists. Ezra Mannion for Vanderbilt had himself a game, 22 points, 4 assists. He was in on every play. But Memphis, in the end, holds on to win at 77-75, their 5th win in a row. This post-game report is presented by Belfor, the leading disaster recovery partner for businesses and communities. You welcome in CBS Sports senior writer and co-host of the Ion College Basketball Podcast, Matt Norlander. Matt, that game, what kind of vibes did that have for you? Because I felt it had a little bit of March vibes there, maybe leading up to March, because, of course, Vanderbilt, not really a tournament team right now, but that game had some vibes in it.
Vibes aplenty, I guess, and it had more like a conference tournament, a team with no shot at getting in at large, maybe putting a scare into the top seed, because Vanderbilt was a heavy underdog, although, hey, listen, your guy might have picked them to cover on the Friday edition of Ion College Basketball. I might have been right. Gary Parrish might have been wrong. We'll have to deal with that going down, moving forward here. Game effort from Vanderbilt. I said earlier on Saturday on HQ that the game before Christmas for many a college basketball coach is a terrifying situation because you just don't know what kind of team you're going to have show up to the arena and play for you. With Vandy, which is now 4-8, and really facing a desperate situation, it loses, but it displayed itself well. It blew a lead late from Memphis. Oh boy, this would have been a massive stain on the resume. Would have been a seed line knock, no doubt about it. It dodges that. Give credit to Jerry Stackhouse, his coaching staff, and those players. They go on the road, and they are almost able to pick them off, but almost doesn't count in the win-loss ledger. It is a loss here. For Memphis, you continue racking up the wins in the non-conference. It was a huge day for the American Athletic Conference because FAU got the huge, massive, monumental win over Arizona in the best game of the season so far. And then Memphis, which is going to be right there with FAU, 1-2 in the American Athletic Conference. It dodges a bad loss, and David Jones shows up big again. He's playing like an All-American.
Yeah, 21 of his 28 in the second half. This Memphis team looks a lot different than it has in past years. Very young, inexperienced, a lot of freshmen, sophomores. This is a veteran, upperclassman-laden team. Several transfers, David Jones from St. John's, Javon Quinterly from Alabama, a few others as well. But this is a different-looking team. If people are just looking in here at college basketball right now as we end the year here late December, what have you seen from Memphis? What is different about this team in years past?
A lot more composure, a lot of connectivity. They've allowed David Jones, who is the breakout player in the sport this season. No one had him coming in and being, a top 20, top 15 player. He's a top 10 player in America. His ability has been massive. I'll also note Naquan Tomlin scored 8 points today, played 15 minutes. He is an in-season, you're hearing me correctly, in-season transfer because he was on Kansas State's roster, did not get cleared to return to the team. He went into the portal, immediately eligible because he had not played for Kansas State this season. He is going to be a huge presence in the front court there. What's different about this Memphis team? I would say it's got more trust amongst its teammates than any team Penny Hardaway has ever had, and I will credit Penny Hardaway for this. He scheduled this group almost like Mark Few schedules Gonzaga in the non-con, and that is to say he knew he might have a couple of quad one opportunities, maybe 3 or 4 at most in the American Athletic Conference, which would be decent. But if he was going to get out of that 8-9 game, which Memphis has been in the past 2 seasons in the NCAA tournament, had to schedule well, had to get big wins, has been able to do that. By age, Memphis is the oldest team in all of college basketball, and that experience, even though they don't have a ton of experience playing together as a collective unit, these are many players who have taken many different roads, many different journeys to get to this spot. And the Tigers, like FAU, the American Athletic Conference, in my estimation, has 2 of the 15 best teams in the country, and I'll stand by that opinion even after getting a real scare from Vandy. I think in totality to this point, Hakeem, Memphis has shown itself to be one of the 15 best teams in the sport as we get ready to turn toward Christmas.
Wow, one of the top 15 teams in the sport. So off of that then, what's their ceiling then? I mean, what are we talking about in terms of their ability rest of way?
It's a good question because with FAU, I think the ceiling is making the national championship game. Memphis, I don't know if I can quite envision that, but Memphis' ceiling could be winning the American Athletic Conference and beating FAU out. It could be getting into the second weekend. That doesn't seem like it's too much of a stretch for me. And in terms of a win total, like to me, this Memphis team should have its sights set now with what it's done, postseason run included. When they have their team banquet at the end of the season, if they live up to expectations, Hakeem, if they hit the ceiling should be 30 wins, which would be one of the better seasons Memphis had in recent history. There's no guarantee of that, but coming up large against a lot of notable opponents. I mean, Memphis is on a streak in the past few weeks where it has beaten more ranked opponents in a 3-week span than it had done since pre-John Calipari. We hadn't seen that from a Memphis team beating 4 ranked opponents in a 5-game span since the 1990s. So big picture, Memphis ceiling. Win the American, get to the second weekend, potentially get a 4 seed in the NCAA tournament. I like what they've got so far this season. A really good twist here for a program that has been good, but is now trying to knock on the door of being borderline great.
Jerry Stackhouse in his 5th season at Vanderbilt. This is a team that's 4-8. They've lost 4 in a row now. When you look at what he's trying to do there and build this program up, where do they sit right now? And the record says what they are, but in terms of outside of the record, is he putting this program in the right direction?
Not at the moment. You can't say. I mean, Vanderbilt's 4-8. Vanderbilt entered the weekend worse than Louisville, worse than DePaul, worse than Notre Dame, which is having a very down year at KenPom. It was Vanderbilt that's the lowest ranked high major team in the sport, and it was a nice effort. I actually like seeing that. They've got one more non-league game before they get into to SEC play, but it's a bit of a lost season, obviously, and it remains to be seen if Stackhouse's job will be up for a change when we get to March. I'm not saying it'll happen. I'm just saying that discussion is going to happen if Vandy can't get above 5.
Well, Memphis on this day holds out and wins it as they win their 5th in a row in a very exciting finish. Didn't feel like it was going to end, but it finally did, and Memphis looking good here heading into the end of the year. And for more, join Matt Norlander and Gary Parrish on the Eye on College Basketball podcast, delivering insider information, all the big storylines in college hoops. The Eye on College Basketball podcast. Download and follow today. And let's get back out to Memphis. Welcome to the man who called this game, Bill Raftery. And Bill, that game was dramatic in the end. A lot of back and forth. We had runs. We had teams going cold. Your reaction to what you saw playing out in front of you?
Yeah, Hakeem, a lot of strategy coming down the stretch, you know, whether to give fouls, who to foul, pressure release, who's going to get the shot, should they give a foul on a 3-point? I mean, it's just utterly incredible. And, you know, to lose this one is painful. But we were saying on air, Vandy, you know, this is something you can grow from. They've been struggling, had some upsets early in the season, and a lot of injuries. And conversely, you know, Memphis has weathered a terrific month, outstanding schedule. Competitive opponents were upper echelon and yet weathered the storm, and today a little out of form I think in the first half, but energized at the beginning of the second half where they really stepped up the defensive pressure and got themselves back in this game.
You don't just walk into the FedEx Forum and get a win against the Memphis Tigers. They're unbeaten at home this season, 5 straight wins. And to borrow a line from you, David Jones, the St. John's transfer, really showing some onions. 21 of his 28 in the second half, Bill. What did you see from that young man?
Yeah, he was just amazing. And it's tough to really explain to people how hard he guards as well. I mean, he puts out as much on that end as the other. And for a lot of offensive guys, they rest on that defensive end, but not this young man. His ability outside, we know his range is incredible. He makes you pay if you overhelp and they find him. And then he's got the ability in the lane and strength, and he's an excellent rebounder. He's leading rebounder with this team. So it's an effort that he's consistently brought out each and every game so thus far this year.
Yeah, leads the American Athletic Conference in scoring at nearly 21 per game. This Memphis team looks a lot different than in past years. An upperclassman-laden squad with several transfers that make up the starting lineup. When you look at Memphis and what Penny Hardaway has done there and what he has built, what is the ceiling for this team? Because you've seen a lot of teams, you've seen what they can do, and it's early here in December, but this team looks pretty good, Bill.
Well, there's two ways to look at this thing. He does play a lot of people, but in a sense, they just become a problem for the opponent in terms of fatigue. Their effort is extraordinary on the defensive end, and they don't put stress on their half-court set because they turn you over and get some easy baskets. So this is as good a Memphis team as I've seen in quite a while, and they're ready for a long run, no question about it.
Memphis has won 5 in a row. Bill, Merry Christmas, Happy Holiday to you. Thanks for spending some time here with us on CBS Sports
Thanks,
HQ.
Pal. You too have a great Christmas as well. Bye now.
Bill Raftery on the call on CBS as Memphis defeats Vanderbilt 77-75. A game that had little March vibes in it. And David Jones, the player of the game, the St. John's transfer, finishes with 28 points, 21 of them coming in the second half as Memphis stretches its winning streak to 5 in a row and stays unbeaten at home.